Sai Ram, everybody. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak today about how I came to know of Sai Baba. So it started in the early 1990s when I was going through a very difficult time in my life. My brother was sick and dying of AIDS, and my parents were both in poor health. And on top of that, I was going through a very nasty divorce. So it was a really difficult time for me, and I really didn't have anything to lean on because growing up, I had really no real faith in God. I used to say, if there is a God, he's going to have to show me that he exists. So I had a friend from Italy, and she was a devotee of Satya Sai Baba. And she spoke to me about Baba, and I just thought it was nonsense. But she sent me on like a self-help weekend where the people that held it were devotees of Sai Baba, but they didn't speak of him. But there was a big picture of him in the living room. So when I came back from that retreat, I decided that I would sort of check it out. Like, for some reason, I felt like I could connect with this belief system. So I went to my phone book. I live on Long Island in New York, and I looked up Satya Sai Baba, and believe it or not, there was Satya Sai Baba in the town next to me. It was a Sai group that met every Thursday. So I called them up, and they invited me to come. And I went, for a couple of years. But during this time, my brother got more and more ill, and things were progressing poorly for my marital situation. So one February, I was taking my kids, just me and my kids. We went on a winter vacation, and it was a very, very icy day in New York. And we took a limo to the airport, but we got there late because the roads were treacherous. And when we were standing on line to check our bags, I said to my two children, we're going to miss our flight because the line was so long, and it wasn't moving. And this was just about the time when I started to get to know about Sai Baba. So I was holding a book. I think it was probably Hislop's book. I was holding it under my arm because I was going to read it on the plane. So out of nowhere, this little man came with no credentials, no uniform, no anything. He came up to me and he said, "Are you going to Florida?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said to me, "You need to come with me because you're going to miss your flight." So he took our bags, and he took them to the check-in counter, and he put them behind, and he gave me some receipts, and he told me what gate to go, and he said, "You better hurry up." And my kids were like, "Who was that?" And I said, "I don't know." So we raced down to the gate, and we got on the plane, and we flew down to Florida, and we were going on a cruise. So we got to our cruise ship, and we cruised down to the Caribbean. And every single stop on that trip was about Sai Baba. So the most amazing thing was when we got to St. Martin, the island of St. Martin, I said to my kids, there's a jewelry store that is my favorite store in the whole Caribbean, and I really want to go just take a look and see it. They have the most beautiful things. It was called Little Europe. So we go to Little Europe, we walk inside, and I walk in, and I'm looking at the jewelry, and my son said to me, "Mommy, look around." Everywhere on the wall were pictures of Satya Sai Baba. So I said to the owner, "Are you devotees of Satya Sai Baba?" And they said, "Yes." They said, "Come with us." So myself and my two kids, we go into the back. They have a giant puja room with Shirdi Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba. We did puja together. I mean, it was, who would even ever think that would ever happen? But for every island we went to, we got into a taxi cab in an island, and there was a statue of Sai Baba. At one point, I wanted to buy T-shirts for my friends' kids at home. We went to a little T-shirt shop, and there were Om Sai Ram Shirdi, Satya Sai Baba t-shirts. Like the whole trip was about Sai Baba. So, that was like, oh, I think I should pay attention to this. So we got back home, and I would say like it was 1993, maybe. My dad was sick, and I got called. He was in the hospital, and I got called. It was a snowstorm also. We got called, the family, that my father was not going to make it for the rest of the day. So I had somebody pick me up and drive me to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, my brother and my uncle met me at the elevator, and they were standing there going, and I said, "Oh, I'm too late." And they said, No, he's still alive, but he's not going to make it. So I went into the room where my dad was, and I pleaded with him, please. They wanted to put him on a ventilator, and he refused. And I was pleading with him, and the doctor was saying his pressure's dropping. So what I did, I had some vibhuti with me, and I took this vibhuti and I put it all over my father. And I took the vibhuti and then I put it in the back of his head. And we went inside. It was my mother, my younger brother who had AIDS, my other younger brother, and my uncle, and my friend. And within like a half an hour, the doctors came in and they said, "Your father's fine. He recovered," which was a little strange. So we all went out for lunch, and everybody was like, "How did that happen?" So then my dad recovered, and also my father's best friend was there. He was like my second father. I forgot to say that. And the following year, my brother got really, really sick. And he was in the hospital, as was my dad. And his best friend was also very sick. So I helped my brother go into the hospital, and I was the point person to like take care of him and make sure he was okay. I let the hospital know that he had parents, but that not to call them when the end came, because they were elderly and they wouldn't be able to handle it, to call me. So it was on August 19th, was a Friday night, 1994. I remembered I called my entire family and I told them that I didn't think my brother was going to make it through the weekend. And just as a point of reference, I had read in one of the books about Sai Baba that when he had dogs, he kept 2 German Shepherds. And I had 2 German Shepherds. And just by coincidence, my first German Shepherd that I got, her birthday was November 23rd. And she was born in 1990, before I knew anything about Sai Baba. The second one that I had was born on August 21st. So on August 21st now, it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I spent the afternoon with my brother, like every day, but especially that last day, the Sunday, and I was with somebody, and we were talking with a nurse about this book, Many Lives, Many Masters. And, I came home that afternoon, and I knew the end was near, but, I was hoping against hope that some miracle would happen. But anyway, something happened in my home when I got home, and I got very, very upset by it. So I isolated myself. I had an office off the side of the kitchen, and I took my 2 German Shepherds, one born on Baba's birthday and one born that day, August 21st. And I was upset, so I started hyperventilating. I sort of like calmed myself down and I got into a meditative trance. And my brother came to me. He came to me, he was running through a field. He was wearing clothes like from when he was young, from the 60s. He was running, his hair was long, he was wearing like little sneakers. And he was telling me that he was happy and he was fine and he was with Baba. And with that, the phone rang. And it was the hospital telling me that my brother had passed. So he passed on August 21st. So for me, from that point on, I always looked at my two dogs as the connection with the birthdays. It may sound very silly, but that was a connection for me that my brother, in fact, was with Baba and he was safe and sound and his suffering had ended. So that was like the early 90s, and that was the beginning of my experiences with Baba. And I've had so many experiences. My first trip to Puttaparthi was in 1998. I went 98, 99, and then there were a couple of years I didn't go for reasons. My kids were younger, I couldn't do it. But almost since then, I've been going every single year, except of course for 2020. And here's a funny story that ends with how Baba works for me. So in 2014, I started a group here in the States to support an orphanage in India. But we started first with a sewing group because in Andhra Pradesh, around Puttaparthi, there's a lot of former suicide and a lot of problems with the women, abuse. So we started a sewing group to sort of give women the opportunity to be self-supporting and to get away from their troubles. And so we started a group, and in a couple of years later, we wanted Vandita to come to New York, and she just couldn't get a visa. She couldn't get a visa. She tried, I wrote letters, I had to send my bank accounts, my passport, my everything, welcome letter. She went to Hyderabad a couple of times with no luck. And then one night, my daughter asked me to babysit in Manhattan at night. Usually I would go to visit her and my grandson during the day. So I said, sure. It was a Friday night. So I went to babysit and I took the train. And on the way home, I was sitting by the window. Oh, I hope you can see this. Yeah, there's a little message there, but on my iPad and on my iPhone, I have a beautiful picture of Swami. So I have two little dogs, and I got on the train in Penn Station, and I'm sitting next to the window, and it's black because it's dark at night. And two young men came onto the train. They sat next to me, and they started to speak in a language that I thought I recognized as Telugu, but wasn't sure. Anyway, a couple of minutes later, one of the gentlemen sat across from me. And he leaned over and he said to me, excuse me, may I speak to you for a second? And I said, sure. And he said, may I ask you why there's a picture of Sai Baba on your phone? And I said, how would you know that? And he said, every time you open up your phone or your iPad, I see it in the reflection on the window. So I said, yeah, I'm a devotee of Santi Sai Baba. And he said, well, how do you know Swami? So I said, well, where are you guys from? And he said, we're from Bangalore. And all of us in our families are Swami devotees. We go to Puttaparthi all the time. Have you been? So I said, yes, many times. I started a group here supporting a project over there, and we're trying to get the executive director here. We can't get a visa. And he said, oh, well, I just came from Bangalore and I just got a visa. So if you want, we can call her up and I can tell her what to do and she'll get her visa. So I get on the phone and I call Ranjita in India. She picks up the phone. It was whatever time, very early in the morning. And I give the phone to the gentleman sitting next to me, and they speak in Telugu. And they had this amazing conversation. He tells her exactly what to do, how to get her visa. And that following Wednesday, she went back to Hyderabad and she did indeed get her visa. So it was Swami's plan, it was his Leela. And when those two guys got off the train, a couple of stations later, they got up and they said, Sairam. And I said, Sairam. And everybody was staring at us. And I called my boyfriend and I said, you're not going to believe what just happened to me. And I tell him the story and he's like, imagine what they feel. They're on the train in New York. They just arrived. They just came from India. And they meet somebody on the train who is a Swami devotee. Crazy, crazy stuff. So I'm going to end with that. And I just want to say how knowing Swami all these years has impacted my life in very, very strong fashion. My belief in him and the universe is steadfast, and it's allowed me to go outside of myself and create opportunities for people and do Swami's work. As he says, we're his hands to do the good work. And that's really been my mission. Sairam.